Telephone?
Oh, no, dear, not with all of them in there. Say I'm busy.
But, Mother, it's the society editor for the evening news feed.
Oh, the society editor. She's very important. Good afternoon, Miss Ellery. This is Vita Simmons. Yes, a tea and reception for the members of the Wednesday Forum. You might say program tea. My mother, you know, the late Marcella Penny Dowd, pioneer cultural leader. She came here by ox team as a child and she founded the Wednesday Forum. Myrtle, how many would you say?
75 at least. Say 100.
75. Miss Tewksbury is a soloist accompanied by William McCurdy, accompanist.
Mother, come on. Miss Tewksbury's almost finished with her number.
She'll do an encore.
What if we don't give her enough applause?
I've known her for years. She'll do an encore. You might say that I am entertaining, assisted by my daughter, Miss Myrtle May Simmons. What color would you call that?
A richer rose, they told me.
Miss Myrtle May Simmons looks charming in a modest rancho rose-toned gray, kicked up in the girdle with a touch of magenta on emerald. Oh, wish you could see her, Miss Ellery.
Mother, come on, Miss Tewksbury's almost finished. And where's the maid?
Everything's ready. The minute she's finished singing, we open the dining room doors and we begin pouring. The parlors and halls are festooned with smilax. Yes, festooned. That's right, yes, Miss Ellery, this is the first party we've had in years. There's a reason, but I don't want it in the papers. We all have our troubles, Miss Ellery. The guest list, oh yes.
Mother, come on.
If you'll excuse me now, Miss Ellery, I'll call you later.
Mother, Miss Chauvenet just came in.
Mrs. Eugene Chauvenet, Sr. Her father was a scout with Buffalo Bill.
So that's where she got the hat.
Now, Myrtle, you must be nice to Mrs. Chauvenet. She has a grandson about your age.
But what difference will it make with Uncle Elwood?
Myrtle May, remember, we agreed not to talk about that this afternoon. The point of this whole party is to get you started. We work through those older women to the younger group.
But we can't have anyone here in the evenings, and that's why men come to see you, in the evenings. The only reason we can even have a party this afternoon is because Uncle Elwood is playing bingo at the 4th Avenue Firehouse. Oh, thank God for the firehouse.
I know, but they'll just have to invite you out and it won't hurt them one bit. Oh, Myrtle, you've got so much to offer. I don't care what anyone says, there's something sweet about every young girl. And a man takes that sweetness and look what he does with it. But you've got to meet somebody, Myrtle, that's all there is to it.
Well, if I do, they say, that's Myrtle May Simmons. Her uncle is Elwood P. Dowd. Elwood P. Dowd and his pal.
You promised!
All right, let's get them into the dining room.
Now, when the members come in here and you make your little welcome speech on behalf of your grandmother, be sure to do this.
And then after I do that, I mention my Uncle Elwood and say a few words about his pal Harvey. Dear Harvey!
Myrtle May, that's right. Let everybody in the Wednesday Forum hear you. You said that name. You promised you wouldn't say that name and you said it.
I'm sorry, Mother, but how do you know Uncle Elwood will come in here and introduce Harvey to everybody?
This is unkind of you, Myrtle May. Elwood is the biggest heartache I have. Even if people do call him peculiar, he's still my brother. And he won't be home this afternoon.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
But Mother, why can't we live like other people?
Must I remind you again, Elwood is not living with us. We are living with him.
Living with him and Harvey? Did Grandmother know about Harvey?
I've wondered and wondered about that. She never wrote me if she did.
Why did she have to leave all of her property to Uncle Elwood?
Well, I suppose it was because she died in his arms. People are sentimental about things like that.
You always say that, and it doesn't make sense. She couldn't have made out her will after she died, could she?
Don't be didactic, little May. It's not becoming in a young girl, and men loathe it. Now, don't forget to wave your hand.
I'll do my best.
Dear, Miss Toothfairy's voice is certainly fading,
But not fast enough.
Lovely, Miss Toothfairy, perfectly lovely. I loved it.
Oh, excuse me a moment. I have to answer the phone. Make yourself comfortable, Harvey. Hello? Oh, I'm sorry. You've got the wrong number. But how are you anyway? This is Elwood P. Dowd speaking. I'll do. Well, thank you. And who might you be, my dear? Oh, Miss Elsie Greenewalt. Well, Harvey, it's Miss Elsie Greenewalt. How are you today, Miss Greenewalt? Well, yes. Yes, I'd be happy to join your club. I belong to several clubs now, the University Club, the Country Club, and the Bingo Club at the 4th Avenue Firehouse. I spend a great deal of time there, or over at Charlie's Place, or over at Eddie's Bar. And what might your club be, my dear? Harvey, I can get Life Magazine, Good Housekeeping, and Ladies' Home Journal for 2 years for $6.25. I know, it's a steal. Well, Miss Greenewalt, it sounds perfectly fine to me. How does it sound to you, Harvey? Harvey says it sounds fine to him as well. Yes, he'll take one as well. Yes, 2 subscriptions. Mail everything to this address. Miss Greenewalt, I do hope I get to meet you sometime, my dear. She says she wants to meet me. When? Oh, when? When would you like to meet me? Why not right now? My sister seems to be having a few friends over, and we consider it an honor for you to come and join us. My sister will be delighted. 343 Temple Drive. I hope to see you in a very few minutes, my dear. Goodbye. Well, she's coming right over. Don't you think we ought to freshen up? Yes, so do I. Follow me.
I must read it to Miss Ellaby. Have you seen it, Miss Johnson?
No, I haven't, Miss Simmons.
Oh, look on my dresser.
Mother, Miss Chauvenet, she's asking for you. Here's Mother, Miss Chauvenet. Here she is.
Vita Louise Simmons! I thought you were dead! Oh no, I'm very much alive, thank you.
And this full-grown girl must be your daughter. I've known you since you were a baby.
I know.
What's your name again, dear?
This is Myrtle, Aunt Ethel, Myrtle May, for the 2 sisters of her father. Oh, he's dead, that's what confused you.
Where's Elwood?
He couldn't be here, Aunt Ethel. Now let me get you some tea.
Elwood isn't here?
No.
Oh, shame on him. He's the main reason I came. I want to see Elwood.
Come, there are loads of people anxious to speak to you.
Do you realize, Vita, that it's been years since I've seen Elwood?
No. Where does the time go?
But I don't understand it. I was just saying to Mr. Chauvet only the other night, what do you suppose has happened to Elwood Dad? He never comes to the club dances anymore. I haven't seen him at a horse show in years. Does Elwood see anybody these days?
Oh, yes, Aunt Ethel. Elwood sees somebody.
Oh, yes.
Your Uncle Elwood, child, is one of my favorite people. Always has been.
Yes, I remember.
Is Elwood happy, Vita?
Elwood's very happy, Aunt Ethel. You don't need to worry about Elwood. Why, there's Mrs. Frank Cummings just came in. Don't you want to speak to her?
My, but she looks ghastly. Hasn't she failed, though?
If you think she looks badly, you should see him.
Is that so? Oh, I must have them over. She looks frightful. I thought she was dead.
Oh, no.
Now, what about that tea, Vita?
Certainly, if you will forgive me, I will precede you.
Elwood! Elwood down! Oh, bless your heart!
Aunt Ethel, what a pleasure it is to come and find a beautiful woman waiting for me.
Oh, Elwood, you haven't changed.
Come along, Aunt Ethel, you mustn't miss the party. There's punch if you don't like tea.
But I do like tea. Stop pulling on you two. Elwood, what night next week would you like to come to dinner?
Any night at all, my dear, I would be delighted.
Elwood, there's some mail for you today. I took it up to your room.
Well, thank you, Vita. Aunt Ethel, I want you to meet Harvey. Now, as you can see, he's a puka. Harvey, you've often heard of me speak of Miss Chauvenet. Well, we always call her Aunt Ethel. She's one of my oldest and dearest friends. What? Yes. Yes, that's right. This is the one. She is the one. He said he would have recognized you anywhere. Lovely. Come along, Harvey. We must say hello to all of our friends. Oh, I beg your pardon, Aunt Ethel, if you could excuse me for just one moment.
What?
You're standing in his way. Thank you. Come along, Harvey. Oh, fix your tie, fix your... You look fine. Now, go on in. I'll be with you in a moment. Aunt Ethel, I can see you're disturbed about Harvey. Please don't be. He stares like that at everyone. It's his wedding, but he liked you, I can tell. Yes, he liked you very much.
Some tea, perhaps? Well, I think I must be going. You can't go now. Goodbye, goodbye.
Oh my God. Oh my God!
Michael, where are you going?
Up to my room. He's introducing Harvey to everybody. I can't face those people now. I wish I was dead.
Come back here and stay with me. We'll get him out there and upstairs to his room.
I won't do it. I can't. I can't.
Myrtle May. Now pretend I'm fixing your corsage.
Mother!
And we've got to. Pretend we're having a gay little chat. Keep looking. When you catch his eye, tell me. He always comes when I call him. Now, do you see him yet?
No, not yet. How do you do, Mrs. Cummings?
Smile, can't you? Have you no pride? I'm smiling. And he's my own brother.
Mother, people get run over by trucks every day. Why can't something like that happen, Uncle Elwood?
Oh, May Simmons, I'm ashamed of you. This thing is not your uncle's fault.
You're sticking with that pin.
So that's Miss Ellaby. Keep looking, keep smiling.
Oh, Mrs. Cummings is leaving. He must have known what Harvey was. Oh, God.
Hello, this is Mrs. Simmons. Should you come in the clothes you have on? Well, what have you on? Who is this? But I don't know any Miss Greenawalt. Should you? What? May I ask who invited you? Mr. Dowd, think you just the same, but I believe there has been a mistake. Never! Never was. One of your Uncle Elwood's friends. She just asked me if she should bring a quart of gin to the Wednesday Forum.
Well, there he is. He's talking to Mrs. Halsey.
Is Harvey with him? promise you, your uncle has disgraced us for the last time in this house. I'm going to do something I've never done before.
What did you mean just then when you said this wasn't Uncle Elwood's fault? If it's not his fault, then whose is it?
Never you mind. I know whose fault it is. Now, lift up your head, smile, and go back in as though nothing had happened.
You're no match for Uncle Elwood.
You'll see.
Mother's waiting for you.
Elwood, could I see you for a moment, dear?
Of course, sister. Excuse me, Harvey.
Elwood, would you mind sitting down in here and waiting for me until the party's over? I want to talk to you. It's very important.
Of course, sister. I happen to have a bit of free time right now, Vita, and you're welcome to all of it. Do you want Harvey to wait too?
Yes, Elwood. I certainly do.
Okay. Harvey, could you come in here? He'll be right out. Jane Austen. My favorite book. Harvey, you want a drink? No? Too early? No. Have a seat. Vita wants to talk to us. She says it's important. I think she wants to congratulate us on the impression we made at her party. This? Jane Austen? You don't know Jane Austen? We'll give deluxe edition, limited, Rosette and Dunlap, the usual acknowledgments. Here we are. Chapter 1.
Dr. Tony is more than that. He is a psychiatrist with a national reputation. Whenever someone has a mental
break down, they at once think of Dr. Chumley. That's his office, isn't it? Well, you march right in there and tell him I want to see him. If he knows he's in here, he'll come out here.
I wouldn't dare do that, Miss Simmons. I'd be discharged if I did.
Well, I don't like to be pushed off onto any second fiddle.
Dr. Sanderson is nobody's second fiddle. He's young, of course, and he hasn't been out of medical school very long, but Dr. Chumley tried out to help and kept Dr. Sanderson. He's really wonderful. Tip patience.
Very well. Tell him I'm here.
Right away.
Dear. Oh, dear.
All right, come on, this way, come on.
Vito, isn't
Come on.
this wonderful? Just
This
look at
way.
your wallpaper.
Come on.
Miss Simmons.
Oh! I didn't hear you come in. You startled me. You're Dr. Sanderson?
Yes, will you be seated, please?
Thank you. I hope you don't think I'm jumpy like that all
No,
the
of
time.
course not. Miss Kelly tells me you're concerned about your brother, Dowd, Owen P. Dowd.
Yes, Doctor. This isn't easy for me, Doctor.
Naturally, these things aren't easy for the families of patients. I understand.
It's what he's doing to himself, Doctor. That's the thing. Mother May has a right to nice friends. She's young and her whole life is before her. But that's my daughter.
Your daughter. Well, how long has it been since you noticed any peculiarity in your brother's actions?
I noticed it right away when Mother died and Myrtle May and I came back from Des Moines to live with Elwood. I could see that he...
That he what, Mrs. Simmons? Don't strain, let it come, I'll wait for it.
Doctor, everything I say to you is confidential, isn't it?
Well, that's understood.
Because it's a slap in the face to everything we've stood for in this community the way Elwood's acting now.
I'm no gossip, Mrs. Simmons. I'm merely a psychiatrist.
Well, for one thing, he drinks.
Well, to excess?
To excess. Well, don't you call it excess when a man never lets a day go by without stepping into one of those cheap taverns, sitting around with riffraff and people you've never heard of, inviting them to the house, playing cards with them, giving them food and money, and here I am trying to get Myrtle May started up with a nice group of young people, and if that isn't to excess, I'm sure I don't know what excess is!
I didn't doubt your statement, Mrs. Simmons. I merely asked if your brother drinks.
Well, yes, I say definitely Elwood drinks, and I want him committed out here permanently, because I cannot stand another day of that Harvey! Myrtle and I have to set a place at the table for Harvey. We have to move over on the sofa and make room for Harvey. We have to answer the telephone when Owen calls and asks to speak to Harvey. And then at the party this afternoon with Mrs. Chauvenet there, we didn't even know anything about Harvey until we came back here. Doctor, don't you think it would have been a little bit kinder of Mother to have written and told me about Harvey? Be honest now, don't you?
I couldn't answer that statement, Mrs. Simmons, because
I can. Yes, it certainly would have.
This person you call Harvey, who is he?
He's a rabbit.
Well, perhaps, but who is he? Someone of whom your brother picked up in these cheap taverns, of whom you disapprove?
Doctor, I've been telling you. Harvey is a rabbit, a big white rabbit. 6 feet high. Or is it 6 feet and a half? Heaven knows I ought to know. He's been around the house long enough.
Mrs. Simmons, let me get this straight. You say that Harvey is...
Doctor, do I have to keep repeating myself? My brother insists that his closest friend is this big white rabbit. This rabbit is named Harvey. Harvey lives at our house. Don't you understand? He and Elwood go every place together. Elwood buys theater tickets, railroad tickets for both of them. As I told Myrtle May, if your uncle was so lonesome he had to bring something home, why couldn't he bring home something human? He has me, doesn't he? He has Myrtle May, doesn't he? Doctor, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody in the world before. Every once in a while, I see that big white rabbit myself. No, isn't that terrible? I've never even told
Mrs. Simmons.
And what's more, he's every bit as big as Elwood says he is. Now don't ever tell that to anybody, Doctor. I'm ashamed of it.
Mrs. Simmons, I can see that you've been under a great nervous strain recently.
Well, I certainly have.
Grief over your mother's death depressed you considerably?
Nobody knows how much.
And losing sleep?
How could anybody sleep with that going on?
Short-tempered over trifles?
You just try living with those two and see how your temper holds up.
Loss of appetite?
No, being at a table with my brother and a big white rabbit. Well, I'm finished with it. I'll sell the house, be appointed conservator of Elwood's estate, and Rosalie and I will be able to entertain our friends in peace. It's too much, Doctor. I just can't stand it.
Of course, Mrs. Simmons, of course it is. You're tired.
Oh, yes, I am.
You've been under great stress.
Yes, I have. I can't help it.
And now I'm going to help you.
Oh, Doctor.
Just stay right there, Mrs. Simmons. I'll be right back.
I'll just go down to the cabin and get Elwood's things.
Why didn't someone answer the phone?
I can hear you.
Well, I rang and rang. Mrs. Simmons, sound the gong whistle. That poor woman must not leave the ground.
She's made with a getaway, huh,
Her
Doc?
condition is serious. Go after her.
Yes, sir.
I can't believe it.
Main gate, Henry. Dr. Sanderson, allow no one out of the main gate. We're looking for a patient. I shouldn't have left her alone, but no one answered the phone.
Wilson wasn't south, Doctor.
Well, what have we available, Miss Kelly?
Number 13 Upper West Star is ready, Doctor.
We'll have her taken there immediately. I will prescribe preliminary treatment. I must contact your brother, Down, LOP Down. Get him on the telephone, will you please?
But Doctor, I didn't know it was the woman who needed the treatment. She said it was for her brother.
Well, of course she did. That's the oldest dodge in the world, always used by a cunning type of psychopath. She apparently knew her brother was coming out to commit her, so she came out to discredit him. Get him on the telephone, will you please?
But Doctor, the woman seemed all right when she came in here, so I had Wilson take the brother up to room number 24 South Wing G. She's there now?
You had Wilson take the brother up? Oh, no gags, please, Kelly, tell me you're not serious.
I did, Doctor, I did. I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, well, if you're sorry, that fixes everything.
Let me do it. Hello, yes, Dumpy. Unlock room number 24, give Mr. Dowd his clothes, and...
Well, ask him to step down to the office right away.
Ask him to step down to the office right away. There's been a terrible mistake, and Dr. Sanderson would like to explain.
Explain? Apologize.
She didn't put him in the hydro tub yet. She'll let him out.
Beautiful. And dumb, too. It's almost too good to be true.
Look, Doctor, I feel terrible. Judge Gaffney called this morning and said that Mrs. Simmons would be out this afternoon with her brother, and when the woman came in here... You know, you don't have to be so sarcastic.
Oh, don't I? Well, don't worry. We'll squirm out of it some way.
Well, where are you going?
Well, I've got to tell the chief about this. Kelly, he may want to handle this himself.
He'll die, and then he'll terminate me.
Oh, the responsibility is all mine.
Oh, no, tell him it was all my fault.
I'll never mention your name, except in my sleep.
Oh, wait. Put this man down.
Look, Kelly, keep him here. I'll be right back.
What shall I say to him? What shall I do? He'll be furious.
Well, he'll probably be fit to be tied, but he's a man, isn't he?
Well, I guess so. His name is Mr.
Well, then go through the whole routine. You know, the eyes, the swish, the works. I'm immune, but I've seen it work on many people, many of the patients out here. Just keep him here. If you have to do a striptease.
Oh, you're wonderful, Dr. Sanderson. You're just about the most wonderful person I ever met in my life.
Yeah, but how's about giving me a lift just the same?
What?
That Simmons' name?
Did you catch her?
Slick as a whistle. Oh, you should have seen it. She was coming down the path, humming a little tune. I jumped out at her from behind a tree and I says, "Sister, there's a man wants to see you." Oh, I shut her to scream. She's wacky already.
Take her to number 13 Upper West Star.
Oh, she's up there now. I brought her into the diet kitchen. She's kicking and screaming like hell, so I'll hold her if you come upstairs and address her.
Oh, I can't come right now. Dr. Sanderson asked me to stay away from your brother.
All right, we'll make it snappy.
You're Mr. Dowd?
Elwood P.
I'm Miss Kelly.
Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this number. Don't call me at that one, because that one's the old one.
Thank you.
Perfectly all right. And if you lose it, my dear, don't worry. I have plenty more.
Thank you. Won't you have a seat, Mr. Dowd?
Thank you. I'll have two. Allow me.
Dr. Sanderson is very anxious to speak with you. He'll be in a moment. Please be seated.
After you, my dear.
Oh, I really can't thank you. I'm in and out all the time, but you mustn't mind me. Please sit down.
After you.
Would you like a magazine to look at?
Well, I'd much rather look at you if you don't mind. You really are very lovely.
Oh, well, thank you. Some people don't seem to think so.
Well, some people are blind. That is often brought to my attention. And now, my dear, before we go any further, I insist I must introduce you to
Mr. Dow!
Elwood P. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this number.
Mr. Dow, I'm Dr. Lyman Sanderson, Dr. Charlie's assistant out here.
Well, I'm glad to know that. How are you, Doctor?
I'm afraid that's going to depend on you. Won't you have a seat? You've met Miss Kelly?
I've had that pleasure, and I would like the both of you to meet a very dear friend.
Well, later on. Be glad to, but first, won't you have a seat? Because I'd like to say...
After Miss Kelly.
Sit down, Kelly. Now then, Mr. Dowd, is that chair quite comfortable for you?
Well, yes, it is. Would you care to try it?
Would you like a glass of water? Can we get Mr. Dowd a glass of water, please? Mr. Dowd, is it too warm in here for you? Would you like me to open a window?
Mr. Dow, Dr. Sanderson would like to know if he should open a window.
Well, that's entirely up to him. I wouldn't presume to live his life for him.
Now then, Mr. Dowd, I can see that you're not the type of person to be taken in by highfalutin phrases or beating around the bush.
Well, is that so, Doctor?
You have us at a disadvantage here. You know it, we know it. Let's lay all the cards on the table.
Well, that certainly appeals to me, Doctor.
Best way in the long run, people are people, no matter where you go.
That is often brought to my attention.
And being humans are therefore liable to mistakes. Mr. Dowd and Miss Kelly and I have made a mistake here this afternoon, and we'd like to explain it to you.
It wasn't Dr. Sanderson's fault, Mr. Dow. It was mine.
A human failing, as I said.
I find it very interesting, nevertheless. You and Miss Kelly, this afternoon, you said.
And the responsibility is, of course, not hers, but mine.
Well, your attitude may be old-fashioned, Doctor, but I like it.
Now, if I had seen your sister first, that would have been an entirely different story.
Well, there you surprise me, Doctor. I think all the world of Vita, but I suppose she had seen her day.
Well, you mustn't attach any blame to her. She was sick. Came in here insisting you were in need of treatment. Well, that's perfectly ridiculous.
Vita shouldn't worry about me. I get along fine.
Of course, but she ordered to talk to Miss Kelly here, and there had been a phone call from your family lawyer, Gaffney, Judge Gaffney.
Oh, I know him. Know his wife, too. Wonderful people.
She plunged into a heated tirade on your drink.
That was Vita.
She became hysterical.
You shouldn't worry about that. I'll take care of that.
Of course. I suppose you like to take a drink now and then the same as the rest of us?
Oh, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I would like one right now.
As a matter of fact, so would I. But your sister's reaction to the whole matter of drinking was entirely too intense. What does your sister drink, Mr. Dowd?
Oh, no, Doctor, no. I don't believe Vita's ever taken a drink.
Well, I'm going to surprise you. She has, and she does constantly.
Well, I am certainly surprised.
But it's not her alcoholism that's going to be the basis of my diagnosis. It's when she began talking so emotionally about a big white rabbit, Harvey. I believe she said his name was Harvey.
Harvey is his name.
She claimed you were persecuting her with this Harvey.
Oh, I don't persecute Vita with Harvey. She shouldn't feel that way. And now, Doctor, before we go any further, I insist I must introduce
Let me make my point first, Dowd. This trouble of your sister's didn't spring up overnight. Her condition stems from trauma.
From what?
Well, from trauma, spelled T-R-A-U-M-A. It means shock, nothing unusual about it. Well, there's birth trauma, the shock to the act of being born.
Oh, that's the one we never get over, Doctor.
He has a nice sense of humor, doesn't he, Miss Kelly?
Yes, Doctor.
May I say the same for both of you?
So to sum it all up, your sister's condition is serious. But I can help her. She must remain out here temporarily.
Well, I've always wanted Vita to have everything she needs.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't want her to stay out here unless she liked it out here and wanted to stay out here.
Of course. Did Wilson get what he was after, Miss Kelly?
Yes, doctor.
What was Mrs. Simmons' attitude, Miss Kelly?
Not unusual, doctor.
Now, Mr. Dodd, if this trouble of your sister's were something reflected on a memory picture, say something she had already seen once, that would have been one thing. But it stands to reason that nobody's seen a white rabbit 6 feet high.
Not very often, Doctor.
I like you, Dowd.
I like you too, Doctor. You and Miss. Oh, Miss Kelly. I like her too.
So, to sum it all up, your sister's condition is serious, but I can help her. She must remain out here temporarily. Under these circumstances, I would commit my own grandmother.
Does your grandmother drink too?
It's just an expression. Now, once you sign these temporary commitment forms, is next of kin just a formality?
You better have Vita take care of this. She's good at the signing and managing for the family.
We mustn't disturb her now.
Perhaps I talk it over with Judge Gaffney.
We'll talk to him later. Tell him I advised him. And it isn't as if you could come in here and make inquiries at any time. Well, we're glad to have you. When would you like to come back? Wednesday, say Friday, say?
You all have been so pleasant. I can come back right after dinner, about an hour.
Well, we're pretty busy around then, but I guess we can manage it.
Well, I don't have to go right now. I'm not very hungry.
Well, Miss Kelly and I must go up and look in on a patient, but I'll tell you what you might like to do.
What might I like to do?
Why don't you take a look around just to make sure your sister's in good hands? If you go down that hallway, you'll see the occupational therapy room, and beyond that, the diet kitchen, the conservatory, and the library.
Well, for Vita's sake, I better do that, Doctor.
It's been a pleasure having this little chat with you, Mr. Dodd.
Well, I've enjoyed it too, Doctor, meeting you and Miss Kelly.
And I say for a layman, you show a very acute sensitivity to psychiatric problems.
Is that a fact? I thought I knew nothing of it. No one does, do you think?
The best psychiatrists aren't found under every bush.
Well, you have to pick the right bush, Doctor. Since we've all enjoyed this so much, let us keep right on. I insist you must join me downtown for a drink.
Sorry, we're on duty now. Give us a range.
When?
Well, I can't stay right now. Miss Kelly and I don't go off work until 10 o'clock tonight.
Well, then you must come at 10 o'clock tonight.
Well,
And you, Miss Kelly?
Dr. Chumley doesn't approve of the members of the staff fraternizing. But since you've been so understanding, perhaps we can manage it.
Well, great. I'll have Tab out here at 10 o'clock tonight, and the four of us will spend a happy evening together. I want you both to become friends with a very dear friend of mine. You say later on, so later on it will be. Goodbye now.
I can breathe again.
That was a close shave already. The man is proud, but he's to be proud of? I don't know. But I played up to that pride. You can get to almost anybody if you want to. Now I must go and look in on that Simmons woman.
Dr. Sanderson, you say you can get to anybody if you want to. Well, how can you do that?
It takes study, Kelly, years of specialized training. But I'll tell you what I don't like about this Dodd business.
What's that?
Having to make that date with him. Of course, that man has left here as a good booster and friend of the sanitarium. So I guess I'll go with him tonight, but you don't have to. Well, there's no point in it. I'll go with him, have a drink with him, pat him on the back and leave. I've got a date tonight anyway.
Oh, yes, by all means. I didn't want to go anyway. The idea bored me stiff. I wouldn't go if I never went anywhere again. I wouldn't go if my life depended on it.
What's the matter with you, Kelly? What are you getting so emotional about?
He may be a peculiar man with funny clothes, but he knows how to act. His manners were perfect.
I saw you giving it that dog puss stare. I didn't miss that.
He wouldn't sit down until I sat down. He said I was lovely and he called me dear. I'd go have a drink with him if you weren't going.
Oh, sure you would. And look at him. He doesn't work. All he does is sit around in those bars. All that corny bowing and getting up out of his chair every time a woman makes a move. Well, he's as outdated as a cast iron gear. But you go with him. You let him sit you in a bar and flatter you. Oh, you're a wonderful girl, Kelly.
Let me tell you something.
Dr. Sanderson, Miss Kelly.
Yes, Doctor.
Tell that gardener to prune more carefully around my prize dahlias. They'll be ready for cutting next week. Yes, the difficulty of the woman with the big white rabbit. Has it been smoothed over?
Yes, Doctor.
While I have had many patients out here who saw an animal, I never before had a patient with an animal that large.
Yes, Doctor. She called him Harvey.
Harvey. Unusual name for an animal of any kind. Harvey is a man's name. I have known many men of my day named Harvey, but never before an animal with that name. The case is an interesting phase, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
I will now go and look at on this woman. It may be that we can use my Formula 977 on her. I will give you my advice in prescribing the treatment.
Thank you, Doctor.
And now, may I ask, what is that hat doing on that chair? Whose is it?
I don't know, Doctor. Was it Dowd's, Miss Kelly?
You have sat on, doctor.
And Hand me the hat.
There may be some kind of identification. What's this? What's this? 2 holes cut in the crown of this hat, see?
That's strange.
Some new fad. Put it away, hang it up, get it out of here. Oh.
Hello, Doctor.
Oh, there you are.
How's every little old thing?
Fair, thank you, Wilson, fair.
Hey, look, someone's gonna have to give me a hand with that Simmons date. Order a restraining check or something. She's terrible. Oh, forgive me, didn't you? Well, I got a course set off. All by myself.
We're going to look under the patient now, Wilson.
She's in the hydro tub now, Doctor. My God, I left the water running on!
Remember your promise! Really? Oh. Hello, Dr. Sanderson.
Willie, you haven't forgotten Dr. McClure's cocktail party. We promised them faithfully.
Of course. I'm going to look it on the patient now. I'll be down shortly.
Give a little quick diagnosis, Willie. We don't want to be late to that party. Whew! I'm dying to see the inside of that house. Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Mrs. Chumley, Dr. Chumley's wife.
Well, I'm glad to know that. Dowd's my name, Elwood P. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this number. Don't call me at that one, because that one's the old one.
Thank you. Is there something I can do for you?
What did you have in mind?
Well, you seem to be looking for someone.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm looking for Harvey. I went off without him.
Harvey? Is he a patient here?
No, nothing like that.
Does he work here?
No, he's what you might call my best friend. He's also a puka. He came out here with me and Vita this afternoon.
Where was the last time you saw him?
Is sitting in this chair here with his hat on top of it.
Oh, well, there doesn't seem to be a hat there now. Perhaps he left?
Apparently, I don't see him anywhere.
What was that word you just said? A puka?
Yes, that's it.
Is that something new?
No, as I understand it, that's something very old.
Oh, really? Well, I've never happened to hear before.
I'm not too surprised about that. I had myself until I met him. I do hope you get an opportunity to meet him. I'm sure he'd quite take it with you.
Oh, really? Well, that's very nice of you to say so, I'm sure.
Not at all. If Harvey happens to take a liking to someone, he expresses himself quite definitely. If he's not particularly interested, he sits there like an empty chair or empty space on the floor.
Oh.
Harvey takes his time making his mind up about people, choosing, you see.
Oh, well, that's not such a bad way to be at this day and age.
Harvey is fond of my sister Vita, but that's because he's fond of me, and Vita and I come from the same family. Now, you think the feeling would be mutual, wouldn't you? But Vita doesn't seem to care for Harvey. That's rather too bad, isn't it, Mrs. Chumley?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Dowd. I gave up a long time ago expecting my family to like my friends. It's useless.
But we must keep on trying.
Well, there's no harm in trying, I suppose.
Because if Harvey has told me once, he's told me millions of times. Mr. Dowd, I would do anything for you. Mrs. Chumley.
Yes?
Did you know that Miss McElhaney's Aunt Rose is going to drop in unexpectedly tonight from Cleveland?
Why, no, I didn't.
Neither does she. But that puts you both in the same boat, doesn't it?
Oh, well, I don't know anybody named Mrs.
Miss McElhaney lives next door to us, a wonderful lady. Harvey tells me about her Aunt Rose. That's an interesting little news item that you're perfectly free to pass around.
Well,
Mrs. Chumley, would you care to come downtown with me now, my dear? I would be glad to buy you a drink.
Oh, thank you, but I really couldn't. If Dr. Chumley came down here and found me gone, well, he'd be liable to raise hell. Well, he'd be irritated.
We wouldn't want that, would we?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, however.
What will you do, however? I'm interested.
If your friend happens to come in here while I'm still here, I'd be happy to give a message for you.
Would you do that? I would certainly appreciate that.
No trouble at all. I'll write it down on this card you gave me. Now, where did I put my pen?
Here it is. All right. What would you like me to tell your friend if he comes in while I'm still here?
Tell him to meet me downtown if he has no other plans.
Meet Mr. Dowd downtown. Any particular place downtown?
Oh, he knows where. Harvey knows this town like a book.
Harvey, you know where. Harvey what?
Just Harvey.
Just Harvey. I'll tell you what.
What?
Dr. Chumley and I are going downtown to 12th and Montague. Dr. McClure is having a cocktail party.
A cocktail party at 12th and Montague?
We're leaving in a few minutes. We'd be happy to give your friend a lift into town.
Well, I hate to impose, but I would certainly appreciate that.
Oh, no trouble at all. Dr. McClure is having this party for a sister from Wichita.
I didn't know Dr. McClure had a sister in Wichita.
You know Dr. McClure?
No.
But...
Mrs. Chumley, are you sure you haven't had time to come downtown and have a drink?
Oh, I really couldn't, but thank you just the same.
Some other time, perhaps.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Chumley, and I hope to see you again.
Yes, so do I.
Good night, my dear.
Good night.
Oh, you can't miss Harvey. He's very tall. Like that.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, that Simmons woman is uncooperative, Doctor. She refuses to admit to me that she has this big rabbit. Insists it's her brother. Give her 2 of these at 9, and another at 10. I'll check the hydro at 8, and 1 in the morning at 7. Then we'll see if she won't cooperate, won't we, Doctor?
Yes, Doctor.
You know where to call me if you need me. Ready, Pet?
Yes, Willie. Oh, Willie!
Yes?
There was a man here, a man named, oh, let me see. Dowd. Elwood P. Dowd.
That was Mrs. Simmons' brother, Doctor. I gave him full visiting privileges.
She mustn't see anyone tonight. Tell him that.
Yes, Doctor.
Well, he wasn't looking for her. He was looking for someone, some friend of his.
Who could that be, Dr. Sanderson?
I don't know, Doctor. Was there anyone with him when you saw him, Scout?
No, I saw him, Doctor. Well, he said there was. He said he last saw his friend sitting right there in that chair with his hat. He seemed quite disappointed. Dr. Sanderson. Well, I told him if we located his friend, we'd give him a lift into town. He could ride in the back seat. Would that be all right, Willie dear?
Yes, of course, of course.
Oh, here it is! I wrote it down on the back of this card. Oh, he said his friend's name was, Harvey. Harvey? Well, he didn't give me a last name. He was looking for someone, some friend of his. But he did mention something else about him, a puka. But I didn't quite understand what that was.
Harvey!
Well, he said his friend was very tall. Well, why are you looking like that, Willie? This man was a very nice, polite man, and he merely asked that we do a favor for someone. And if we can't do a favor for someone, then why are we living?
Where did he go, Mrs. Chumley? How long ago was he in here?
Oh, get me that hat, by George, we'll find out about this.
Well, I don't know where he went just a second ago.
Main gate, Henry, Dr. Sanderson.
Gaffney, Judge Gaffney.
Henry, did a man in a brown suit go out the gate just a minute ago? He's dead? He's gone?
Ah, yes, Judge Gaffney. Hello. This is Dr. William Chumley, the psychiatrist. I'm calling about a routine check on the spelling of a name before entering into our records. Judge, you telephoned here this afternoon about a client of yours committed. Yes, how's that name spelled? With the W, not a U. Mr. Elwood P. Dowd. Thank you, Judge. Dr. Sanderson. I believe your name is Sanderson?
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, you know that much, do you? You went to medical school. You specialized in the study of psychiatry. You graduated. You went forth. Well, perhaps they neglected to tell you that a rabbit has large pointed ears. That a hat for a rabbit would have to be perforated.
brother seemed pretty reasonable when he came out this afternoon, Doctor.
The function of a psychiatrist is to tell the difference between those who are reasonable and those who merely talk and act reasonably. Have you any idea what you have done to me? You don't answer? I'll tell you. You have committed a psychopathic case to walk off these grounds with an overgrown white rabbit. You have subjected me, a psychiatrist, to the humiliation of having to call, of all things, a lawyer. To find out who has been going to be committed, and who has been going to commit.
Doctor, show me eye.
Just a minute. Wilson, I want you. I will now have to do something I have not done in 15 years. I will have to go out after this patient, Elwood P. Dowd, and I will have to bring him back. When I do bring him back, your connection with this institution is ended. As of that moment, Wilson, get the car.
Yes, sir.
And call the McClures and tell them that we just can't make it. Miss Kelly, come upstairs with me and we'll get that woman out of her tub.
Well, I'll have to tell the cook we'll be home for dinner. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
what is a puka?
A what?
A puka?
You can search me, Mrs. Chumley.
Oh, I wonder if it's in this little encyclopedia here. Oh, wow. They have everything in here. I wonder if it's a lodge or what. Ooh. Oh, I don't dare to do this now. If Dr. Chumley came down here and found me still here, well, he'd be liable to raise it. Oh dear.
P-O-O-K-A, puka. From old Celtic mythology, a fairy spirit animal form, always very large. The puka appears here and there, now and then, to this one and that one, at its own caprice. A wise but mischievous creature, the puka is often fond of rum pots, crackpots, and how are you doing, Mr. Wilson? How are you doing, Mr. Wilson? Well, who encyclopedia wants to know? Now that's happening.